God morgon och välkomna till Aktiespararnas aktiedag. Mitt namn är Ulf Boberg och jag leder frågestunden efter att bolaget har presenterat sig. Welcome to Oasmia with the CEO Francois Martelet. Good morning, Francois. How are you?
Good morning. Very well. Thank you very much.
Good to hear. So Francois will present Oasmia, a specialty pharma company with focus on IV drugs with new formulations, several indications, and including cancer. Go ahead, Francois. Table is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invitation. I'm very pleased to update you and your retail shareholders about Oasmia. So this is the forward-looking statements that I will not ask you to read. Okay, so Oasmia, so what are we? So we are not a drug delivery company, as you may expect, but we are truly an innovation-focused specialty pharma company using a technology platform in order to reformulate existing product, marketed product, and or to generate new compounds, so new drugs. We have a lead product called Apilia. This is paclitaxel micellar that has been approved in Europe. We recently signed off a deal with a biotech company based in the US. We are listed on the market stock exchange with a market cap of around 2+ billion Swedish kronor. And as I said earlier, we are really a truly integrated R&D company. We have a certified production facility based in Uppsala. And I've been appointed CEO of this company last March of this year. Right, so really, we are in a process to, and this is a new Oasmia, to build a sustainable, profitable specialty pharma company. And it all starts with basically meeting an unmet medical need. And this unmet medical need is around the solubility of mainly small molecules that do provide a number of side effects. So we have been able to approve Apilia, approved in Europe, in ovarian cancer, advanced stages. We have signed off a deal, a global partnership, close to $700 million plus royalties. We have also a growing pipeline, and I will go into a lot of details a bit later on. And clearly, we are well positioned for merger and acquisitions and or licensing in order to increase the breadth of our pipeline and its depth as well. We are in a solid cash position. It's always interesting in a biotech world. And clearly, we've been able to upgrade significantly the management team as well as the board, which is actually the next slide. So very recently, from a management team perspective, we've been able to appoint Fredrik Järsten as a CFO, coming from Karolinska Development. Very pleased to have been able to recruit Fredrik. And also Peter Selin from Inceptua as Chief Business Officer, where he's serving as a VP for commercial over there. From a board standpoint, this is a new board as well, with Anders Häfstrand, very senior level executive in both the pharma and in the biotech sector. We do have also Egger Hellström, Birgit Stattin Norinder, and Peter Zonabend. So this board is full of a lot of experience in both in big pharma and in biotech, which is relatively different compared to the past. Right, so meeting the challenges of poor drug solubility, and that's an important aspect in clinical development in the pharmaceutical world. Poor API solubility is a challenge for big pharma and biotech. I listed here that about $180 billion are spent on pharma R&D every year in order to solve this problem. About 40% of all approved drugs do experience solubility issues, therefore leading to a number of side effects. And of course, companies are using solubility enhancers such as Cremophor, such as albumin, polysorbate 80, for instance, and this use does generate a number of side effects that require the use of other drugs that we don't want necessarily to be used. So all in all, we know that about 70% of all drugs fail from a clinical development perspective due to the low solubility profile. So our platform, we call that XR17. This is a platform out of derivatives of vitamin A, 13-cis, and Xmina. And this platform consists of an hydrophilic head, an hydrophobic chain, combined with an API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, to form a micelle. And this micelle is water soluble. And when you administer this micelle into the blood, it does quickly dissolves and then penetrate through the membranes and go to the tumor. So this is the way it works. And obviously, we have data that this technology platform significantly increase safety and potentially the efficacy of new formulation. Right, so our platform is agnostic. However, has been also demonstrated in cancer indications such as ovarian cancer. From a more technical perspective, we have a high drug load capacity. That means that we can use a lower amount of solubilizer compared to other technology and a higher amount of API in order to be more effective. We have with Apealea a shorter infusion time, which is important aspect because in the clinics, basically patients can be out of the hospital quicker. Superior solubility is linked to the drug load capacity. I spoke about that. Another important aspect is the fact that there is not a mandatory need for pre-medication. And pre-medication, usually it's corticoids. And obviously, with patients with cancer, we don't want to depress their immune system. We want to boost it. And therefore, this is another reason why it is so important not to use corticotherapy whenever possible. Free from alcohol, chemophore-free, polysorbate 80-free, serum albumin-free. All those solubilizer and excipients solvents can certainly generate a number of side effects. So all in all, this technology not only enable new drugs to be formulated, but also does provide a second chance for failed drugs to be re-enter into the clinical development process. Multiple opportunities, not only in oncology, but also in animal health, where we have also a pipeline consisting of two products, and I will go through that a little bit later on. Also, other therapeutic areas. This is also another area we are working in now, not only in oncology, not only in animal health. Ovarian cancer has been now the kind of area of work with our partner, Elevar. Prostate cancer is proprietary to Oasmia with docetaxel micellar. And obviously, there will be other indications we will be initiating through the course of the next month and years. Right, on this slide, this is our portfolio. You see our human health portfolio that now has been handed over for commercial purposes with Elevar in the US in advanced stage ovarian cancer. We at Oasmia are working with docetaxel micellar in prostate cancer. We have a phase 1b clinical trial that has been agreed upon with a Swiss cancer research group called SAC. They actually were coming to us in order to initiate this trial. We are quite proud of that. We're working, of course, with new API, in order to generate new formulation that has been not yet disclosed. And we are working on a special kind of process, I would call that the dual encapsulation. That means, encapsulating two APIs into one. not necessarily in oncology, but also in some other therapeutic area, but in particular in oncology. Animal health portfolio, we have paclitaxel, VET, in endoxorubicin VET, doxophos VET, Pacal VET, mainly in mammary carcinoma and lymphoma, which is an increasing incidence of cancer in dogs, for instance. Right, the patent is, we have a broad IP protection, which is always important, not only from a technology standpoint, but also from an output standpoint. That means the compounds that have been gone through the technology platform. So Apealea, we know that in ovarian cancer, second line, third line, the standard of care is carboplatin plus paclitaxel. However, for those subset of patients, 25%, 30%, that cannot tolerate solvent-based paclitaxel, Apealea is the right choice. So we are an injectable formulation using XR17 as a solvent, and that facilitates the solubility of paclitaxel. We are the only product approved in relapsed ovarian cancer that is chemophore-free. So that will be the first indication. And based on that one, we could then expand to other patient population with ovarian cancer. Well, this slide shows that the taxane market is not dead. You know, the market in oncology is not only CAR-T, but also taxane is an important part of the armamentarium in oncology. So in 2018, the global taxane market was around $2 billion, expected to grow within the next 5 years up to $4.5 billion, mainly Taxol, Taxotere, Abraxane, Yevtana, that's the last one, cabazitaxel. So, and you see a number of indications of this taxane range of products. Right, so a couple of features about our technology compared to the other ones. I mean, clearly, you know, we have a small particle size, and that's important in terms of immunogenicity of our platform compared to, for instance, Abraxane. Our dosage is 250 milligrams per square meters, relatively high compared to Taxol. And we have a very a high drug load capacity that is mentioned here with a ratio vis-a-vis API, far higher, far more powerful compared to other technologies of the same kind. Right, ovarian cancer is an important unmet medical need. It is still the 8th most common cancer in women, and around 70% of them will be relapsing within the next 3 years after the first diagnosis. And you see here on this slide the significant incidence of ovarian cancer in main Asia, mainly basically China, Japan, South Korea. And then the incidence is almost equivalent in US and in Europe. Right, so we have signed off a deal, as I said earlier, with Elevar. We received 20 million upfront payment. The whole deal is based on milestones, based on regulatory and sales achievement, close to $700 million US. We are also, Elevar will also implement a named patient program, which means an expanded access program in order to provide access to patients with Apealea. And this is the first step towards a full commercialization of the product. Docetaxel micellar is in clinical development in prostate cancer. And as I said earlier, this will be tested clinically with the Swiss Group for Clinical Cancer Research. So why do you want to invest in Oasmia? So basically because there are multiple potential near and midterm catalysts and value drivers. That means that milestones that we can achieve with our partner, the royalty is based on sales. Also because we are reviewing our animal health business, either partnering, divesting. We also are working on collaboration for our platform, XR17, M&A opportunities, obviously, and we are evaluating the XR719 from an assessment standpoint. So this is the group of reasons why we believe it's significant to invest in Oasmia. Right, so what I've been doing since I was appointing CEO at Oasmia, and I tried to cover this during past slides, but obviously we are working on achieving the Elevar deal milestones. I mean, this is quite obvious. We have recently downsized the organization because we don't want to continue working in commercial production. This is not our core capability, so we have stopped that. Other partners can do it, and also Elevar will take over that part as well through our external supplier. Clearly, we have been able to achieve cost savings, 100 million SEK per year. We have a burn rate which is very close to 10 million SEK per month. And we have also initiated more visibility. We have initiated broader research coverage of Oasmia, which is, of course, important for a listed publicly company. So we believe that we are well on track to build a long-term, profitable specialty pharma company through our core platform, through acquisitions, through licensing in of late-stage assets. That means from phase 1 onwards to phase 3. And this is what we want to build Oasmia. I've been spending most of my time since I've been appointed to really solidify the company, assessing the company, bringing new talents, and building with very solid foundations in order to reach that aim, which is a profitable specialty pharma company. Thank you. And now open to any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Francois. Interesting to follow Oasmia, and you say that you have been through a transformation. Before we go into that, you are a new CEO, as you said, from March. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what the shareholders can expect in the future from you coming to profitability, etc., etc.?
Yes, so my background is MD, MBA. I spent about 18 years in big pharma in fairly senior level roles at Novartis in oncology. I was one of the heads worldwide of Novartis Oncology. Then I became worldwide head of oncology at Merck in the US. And then I had a number of CEO appointments of small companies, startups in oncology. Of a vaccine company, for instance, in the US. I've been CEO of Topo Targets. I've been CEO of Net Scientific with a number of different exits. So what you can expect from me is transparency, is ethical standards. You can expect from me. I'm not the kind of person to overpromise, but I will try to overdeliver, obviously. I know that some of our shareholders are fairly impatient. I am even more impatient than them. Okay, but I also know that you cannot build a sustainable business without having very strong foundations. You need to be a bit patient.
Okay. I think that was a promising statement. In this transformation of the company, I was a little bit surprised that you that you still keep the animal health part. You take the commercial manufacturing away, but you keep the animal health. And there are a couple of questions from the audience following us. And one of them is, why do you keep the animal health? It's not a human drug, and you seems to be a CEO working with human life science drugs. And animal health is a totally different from a sales perspective business. So can you give us a little bit hint when and if you will divest the animal part?
Yes, I think you're totally right. I mean, animal health is a totally different business compared to human pharmaceuticals. And obviously, I am looking at doing something. That doesn't mean necessarily divesting, but it could be partnering, it could be divesting as well. But certainly, we will do something with that part of our business. But, you know, it takes a bit of time to get the right contacts and so on.
So what you're saying is that the board is working and reviewing the animal business, and
yes.
Shall I interpret that as in the future, Oasmia will not be a human and animal vet company?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This platform, you said very early that you are not a drug delivery company, but now going into specialty pharma, but you still lean on the XR17. My question there is the XR17 and the follow-on XR19 your own asset, or have you licensed some part of it so you have an upstream license to pay that will take some of your net income, or is it a totally Oasmia asset?
Yes, we have the fortune that XR17 is proprietary to Oasmia.
Okay.
Okay. So that means that once we do a deal with a company X for a particular product, of course, we license out that particular part of the technology, but we can also obviously do multiple deals with multiple products, multiple companies, and we still have the proprietary with Oasmia. So that's significant. Your question is also obviously XR17 is a solid platform, but at the same time, it doesn't prevent us to supplement our pipeline by adding other assets. So this is what we are also looking at from an M&A standpoint and or licensing in. You know, we have several pillars at Oasmia, not only one pillar, like many biotech companies. They only have one pillar to count on. So have, you know, so we have XR17, we have XR19, we have this continuous look at the markets from an acquisition perspective. Mm-hmm. We have docetaxel micellar, our own pipeline. We have another pillar, which is animal health, that we could divest, for instance.
The Apealea deal with Elevar Therapeutics, you received $20 million US upfront during the spring. And according to a slide I saw, you have digital royalty to wait for when sales starts. But you also have a milestone of $678 million US. And I saw there was a comment there, the milestones are regulatory and commercial. When are those 678 million US due? Is it 2 years, 1 year, 6 months?
Yes. Well, it's correct that this is a milestone-driven deal. That means based on regulatory approvals in various geography. And then we have a double-digit royalty on sales of Apealea. So you know, of course, I cannot give you any fixed time frame, but we are working heavily on that. You know, we are working on achieving milestones one by one.
Because your net income today is dependent. I would say mostly it was dependent on the 20 million US. You don't have any significant net income, as I can see. Your cash is very strong. You have about 50 million SEK, and then you have 300 in short-term investments. And I guess the 20 million US is included in that. But that money will not last forever. So the regulatory part of the 678, can you give us a hint when that is due?
I think you're asking the same question in some other way, but
yeah.
If you any sort of final answer in this, you're right. At the same time, we have minimized our burn rate, so therefore we have a runway which is which is relatively long, beyond the 2.5 years. If you look at other companies in the biotech sector, you will find very few with such a runway. And at the same time, of course, we do expect to have a number of milestones to be delivered during that time frame and beyond.
Yeah. Looking at the shareholders, I know it's not so easy for a CEO. I mean, you're responsible for the daily operation and funding of the company for the future, and of course you are interested to have a stable shareholder list. When will we see larger investors coming in on the shareholder list, or smaller funds? Is that something you and the board work with?
Yes, I have started to work on this, but as I said earlier, my first 6 months, now I've been 6 months with the company, was really to build solid foundation. That means, right sizing of the company, establishing a new strategy, trying to broaden the coverage of Oasmia. Oasmia didn't have a lot of visibility before my time, let's be frank, And then the next step is to search for major institutions to invest in Oasmia. That's correct, yes. Yeah. And I have started to work on this, yes.
I know that the COVID-19 has affected Oasmia. Could you shortly say how has it affected you, and when will you can you regain the time, or is that time lost for you?
Well, I would hope I would be guessing what will happen with the pandemic, but I'm not yet in this kind of. But okay, so the launch was publicly stated late February, and unfortunately, we've been hit by the COVID-19 in March, and in oncology, it's not like in other products, like you just launch a product and say, okay, I have launched, and then that's it. No, it doesn't work this way. You need to meet oncologists. So we have medical scientific liaison officers per country in order to meet oncologists. And they could not do it because the hospital were locked down.
Yeah.
And progressively now, at the same time, we've been working behind the scene in order to provide medical information, in order to work with, especially in Denmark, with health economic, in order to facilitate and to get the reimbursement. So we're working behind the scene. In Sweden, we are working on a national trial, for instance. Okay, so but it takes a bit of time, and as soon as hospital will be fully open, we will be there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And last question, you mentioned a couple of drivers, and I count them to be more than 6, 7 on the slide. But I would like to ask you, can you give the shareholders the 3 most important drivers that the shareholders can keep track on for the next 12 to 24 months?
First is to deliver on our Elevar deal. That's absolutely the most important thing to do now. 2 is clearly to maximize the platform, the XR17 platform. That means to generate other collaborations, and as well as trying to get new APIs successively tested out of the platform. So that's number 2. Number three, in terms of key drivers, I would say, beef up our pipeline. We need to beef up our pipeline. It's never be enough,
Yeah.
And we have the cash position to do so. We have reduced our burn rate. So we are in a good position to accomplish those three goals.
Sounds very promising, Francois. With those words, thank you very much, and wish you all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you as well. Thank you. Bye-bye now.